Yo, what's going on, people? And welcome back to Mandem Football. It's your boy Demeachnyc. Like, comment, and subscribe on the video below. And please, if you haven't already, follow me on Instagram as well, and on X, on Twitter as well, at Mandem Football. And today, Saturday morning, Saturday afternoon, we had a few games that I do want to talk about. Manchester City tied Crystal Palace, which you would not expect at all because of their recent form. You would think that Manchester City would dominate Crystal Palace, who are having a terrible season in the Premier League, and they have fallen short once again, dropping points 2-2. Wasn't Manchester City's day once again. And the big news that came out this morning is that the Merseyside derby between Liverpool and Everton has been postponed, canceled, right? I woke up half asleep this morning on the East Coast. I'm here in New York, having to get up at 7:30 to watch this match. I have my alarm at 7:15, only to wake up to see that the game has been postponed due to the storm that was in Dar, the Dar storm. Unfortunate news for millions of fans around, including myself, and we don't get to see that game, and that game will probably happen sometime next year in January, hopefully. So Liverpool are now a game in hand, but they could possibly have 4 points ahead instead of the regular amount of points they would have if there was a game in hand, assuming that they won their game, as Arsenal and Chelsea play tomorrow. Assuming that they do win their games, they're now only 4 points behind Liverpool as of if they were to win their game. So assuming the case is that they do win and so on. You guys know what I'm talking about. But the big game I do want to talk about today, and that this video is really focused on, is Manchester United against Nottingham Forest at Old Trafford. I've been seeing recently in the comments that, when am I going to talk about Ruben Amorim and Manchester United? Well, here it is, because I was waiting for the right time. I was waiting for really the game, and I analyzed today's game and I watched it, and I really wanted to see what Ruben Amorim was trying to do in the next few games that he had as the new coach of Manchester United. And today, Nottingham Forest 3, Manchester United 2 at Old Trafford. Let's dive right into it. First things first, I always do this. Huge shout out, and I mean huge shout out to Nottingham Forest. Excellent win today. They played very well in the second half. Maybe not the first half, but the second half, absolutely incredible. And I did say this already. I said this in a previous video, that Nottingham Forest, to me, are a dark horse in the Premier League. They are a better team than you think. You might not think it's the manager is the reason why they're not. You might think it's because they don't have enough players at the club that are at a high level. But when it comes to trying to get that goal, not talking about the possession that they have, not talking about how many shots they have on goal, not even talking about how much of an offensive threat that they are, guys, they are a dark horse in the Premier League. And I know this because I've seen it. I've watched the game. I've played the game so many times growing up, and I know a team when I see it. And Nottingham Forest are that dark horse team. I'm not saying they're going to go for the title. I'm not necessarily saying that they're going to get top four. And I'm not necessarily saying that they will secure a European spot, meaning that could be the Europa League or the Conference League. But they are definitely a team that will cause the Premier League problems, especially the big teams like Manchester City or Arsenal later on in the season, or even a Liverpool, or even, they did cause problems to Liverpool, or a Chelsea, or Tottenham, or Newcastle, right? They are a team you have to watch because they do have good players. Now, today's game, Nottingham Forest, a few players I do need to big up, and my favorite player on that team and one of my favorite players in the Premier League, Morgan Gibbs-White. I said it already, guys. This guy is an absolute gem, right? The second half that he had today in the first half was brilliant. Brilliant, brilliant, brilliant. The first half, I take that back. He was ineffective. Nottingham Forest were not the better team in the first half. that all goes down to Manchester United. But the second half and leading up to his goal to make it 2-1, oh my gosh. Morgan Gibbs White is a phenomenal player that deserves his flowers. And honestly, more clubs need to look into this guy because he's an absolute asset to any team in the Premier League. And honestly, many teams around the world would love to have a player like this. He has everything to his game as a number 10. He wears that number 10 like not many players do in the Premier League, and he hones it. He knows he's the best player on the pitch, but he still is as a team player as anybody else is that plays for a top-level side. And I'm telling you, Morgan Gibbs White is an excellent player. And he has, honestly, the players around him that help him do that. Callum Hudson-Odoi, I thought, was superb today. I thought he put in a lot of effort. He put in a lot of work today, and I thought he was great. And to complement that, Nottingham Forest started off the game well with a goal within not even 2 minutes of the game. 1 minute and 45 seconds to play in the game, they score from a set piece. Listen, set pieces aren't going anywhere. A matter of fact, they're going to be a lot more frequent and they're going to be seen a lot more. And honestly, your favorite teams in the Premier League are going to get scored by one. Because if you haven't already, they will. You will see a goal scored by a set piece against your team because they are becoming the new phenomenon in the Premier League. I promise you that. I absolutely promise you that. And to speak on further players in Nottingham Forest, Chris Wood, great goal scored by him. I thought he got up. That's just what he is. He's just that type of player. And Morgan Gibbs White again. Excellent ball played to him to make it 3-1. At Old Trafford, by the way. I mean, we're talking about the theater of dreams. And you score that at Old Trafford, 3-1, with a new manager, right? Manchester United fans are talking about the new manager bounce, which is understandable. Whenever a team gets a new manager, things tend to go into the positive direction very fast. But again, that is all out the water. Nottingham Forest were there not to play around, and they took the game from them. And that was an excellent game by Nottingham Forest. And I'm very, very pleased to see that they've proven me right once again in the Premier League against a top team like Manchester United, who they don't play like a top team, but they're the biggest team in the Premier League, and they're one of the biggest teams in world football. And to perform like that, bravo. Honestly, bravo. Now, Manchester United. Well, what are my thoughts on Manchester United? All I can say is that Man U, they have a lot of work to do. And I do think, for number one, Ruben Amorim is that guy. I do think he's a good coach. I think he's a much better suited coach for Manchester United than Erik ten Hag, and he probably is more suited than several managers prior to Erik ten Hag, right? So, this is going to be a long haul for Man U, and he's admitted to that, right? He's admitted to that Manchester United are going to have a lot of hell that's going to come their way. And that is totally understandable, and I completely agree with that. But, as a manager, you have to accept the fact that the players that you have, they might not be good enough for you, but they are certainly good enough players to perform at their home ground. I mean, several players today that I have to mention that really, really just shook me the wrong way while I was watching them play. And one of those players is Andre Onana. Yo, brother. Andre Onana, listen, man. You coming into Man U with high expectations, from last season. Now you're at your second season, and you've been playing football for way too long, bro. You cannot be making a save like that, right? You cannot be having a shot come your way, and then you let it bounce past you into the goal to make it 2-1 against Nottingham Forest. And as I said before, listen, Forest are a great team. Morgan Gibbs White is a phenomenal player, but I will be real when I say this. The shot that he took should be saved by any keeper. It should never be going in the back of the net. That went straight at Onana. I praise Morgan Gibbs-White for taking that shot and him having the space and him having the balls to take it, because that is a great take. But the shot itself needs to be saved. And honestly, I am not surprised that Man U lost today, because Andre Onana was poor. Dallo was poor. I mean, Dallo looks like he doesn't know what he's doing in that position. When you're playing a 3-4-3, he doesn't know what he's really doing as a wingback. He doesn't look suited for it. I think Luke Shaw is a player that's a lot more suited for this system under Ruben Amorim. I certainly believe that. Um, some other players that I thought just didn't do much. Hoyland scored the first goal, which is great for him. But, after he did this little whole celebration, I don't know what's going on. He was nowhere to be seen, right? It's ironic that he went like this after, because he didn't do much after that. A few players for Man U did play well. Let's not take that away. I thought a few players really did stand out for me. I thought Ugarte played well. I was very impressed by him. He did decent against Arsenal in the first half, but other than that, he was a good player. I thought the best player from Manchester United, really, up until he got substituted, was Bruno Fernandes. I thought Bruno Fernandes in the first half was excellent. I thought he was getting the ball. He was getting service. He was trying to orchestrate. He was trying to create. That is Bruno Fernandes. That is what Bruno Fernandes is as a player. He needs to feel, and he needs to know that he is the man that is, orchestrating the band and is, driving the boat. He needs to be that guy that is in the position to feel as if, like, yes, this is my team. And he's the captain of Manchester United, so you're going to expect the captain to think that way. And play that way as well. So that is exactly what he's done. So I thought Bruno Fernandes did play well, but then he let in a terrible mistake that led to the goal, and it just went down from there. I thought Ahmad on the right-hand side was good. I thought he was good. I don't think he was phenomenal. I don't think he was great. I thought he was good. He was definitely good enough. He was causing trouble. He's a tricky player. He reminds me somewhat of Leandro Trossard at Arsenal. I think he's quicker than him, but just the player profile and the way they play in certain dimensions is very similar. But at the end of the day, these are players that are not world class. They're not world beaters. As a matter of fact, they're at best squad players. These are players that are meant to come in when, that world beater is not beating. He is supposed to come in and say, listen, this is a good enough player to play for a team like Manchester United if things aren't really going well. And he will take that team as far as he can go, because if he's in form, it's not going to last long. But Ahmad is good, right? I will say this, though. There were several players that came in the second half when Manchester United were down, and, they didn't do anything. And I think a lot of that has to do to Ruben Amorim as well, though. I have to look at players like Joshua Zirkzee. Nothing. He did absolutely nothing. Marcus Rashford, who many people, would assume he needs to be starting. I agree. I do think Marcus Rashford needs to start. But a lot of Marcus Rashford's game is because of how good of a player and talented he is. He has the quality to be a world-class player. I'll probably go as far as to say that he has world-class talent, but he does not have the consistency of a world-class player. He does not have the mentality of a world-class player, and he does not do the dirty work, and that is the problem. He doesn't do the dirty work in this game. You have to work as hard as you freaking can in order to get on the first team, let alone get on the lineup if you're on the bench or not. You have to work so hard, and he just doesn't do that. But when you have Ruben Amorim playing you as a half space, number 10 on the right-hand side, it just doesn't make any sense to me. Marcus Rashford is a player where he needs to be out on the wing wide, get the ball, and let him do his magic. If he's outside the box on his right foot, he's going to shoot and he's going to score. That is who he is. And Ruben Amorim is putting him in the half space underneath Ahmad, where Ahmad is playing on the wide. It's like, that is so backwards. Ahmad should be in that half space because he has the technical ability to be able to do that. Whereas Marcus Rashford should play out wide because Marcus Rashford has that quality to make something out of nothing and create his own magic. That is who he is. To make the, like, if they were able to kind of be fluid between each other, interchange between that half space and out wide, you know, kind of have a bit of rigidness to it, but it's fluid because they're both, you know, interchanging each other, then I would completely understand that. But Ruben Amorim just did not know what he was doing on that, and I blame Amorim for that because now both players are going to be a shell of each other come they play Manchester City, right? He's just come in, and Ruben Amorim had to deal with Arsenal away, loss. Nottingham Forest at home, loss. Then they got to play Manchester City away, Tottenham away, Liverpool away. Now they got to go and play Arsenal in the FA Cup final. I mean, not final, third round away. I mean, you're a top-level coach. Welcome to Manchester United, my friend. And that's pretty much what he's got to deal with. And he is an honest guy for saying, you know, when it rains, it pours. There's going to be hell to pay, and there's going to be shit that's going to hit the fan. But as a coach, yo, you got to get this team sorted out. And those players need to get sorted out too because they're not helping him. So I feel for Ruben Amorim, but today was his fault, and a lot of things went wrong. And also, some of the players at Man U need to bounce. They need to bounce. And that's just my take on Manchester United overall. You know, I really do think that if things go right with Ruben Amorim, they'll be a top-level team again. I really do believe that. I think he's a good coach, and I think they have quality in certain areas. They just need to utilize it correctly. But, yeah, man, I watched today's game, and I analyzed it very well, and I have to say that was not a good performance by them, at least in the second half. The first half, it was a good half. It would have been a great half if they didn't concede early on. But again, this is football. You got to learn from your mistakes. If you concede from a corner against Arsenal twice, you know, you can't concede more than once. And let alone once. You conceded once, and that led to 2 more goals being scored against you in the game. So you got to make sense of it, and Manchester United have a long way to go. Other words, though, tomorrow there will be some big games. I will be definitely reviewing tomorrow's games. Chelsea against Tottenham, which will be a massive, massive game for both Chelsea and Tottenham. They do need to win that game, and I honestly think that's going to be a complete thriller. I think it's going to be 4-3 Chelsea against Tottenham. I know, you know, that is a big scoreline, but I honestly think that this will be fireworks. I really do think, you know, two teams that absolutely hate each other. There's a big rivalry between these two teams, and they definitely have the players to be able to score many, many goals. I mean, if they were able to do it last season with Chelsea and Tottenham against Manchester City, then certainly, and I mean certainly, they should be able to, you know, score as many goals as they want against each other. And I think defense is really just going to go out the window for these two teams. But I do predict that Chelsea will win that game one way or another. And Arsenal play Fulham, and I think Arsenal will beat Fulham. But they have a test. They lost last season to them. And that will be a good game. So, there you have it. That's what I got for today. Manchester United are in the mud. But hopefully that mud does not stick for too long because Ruben Amorim is a good coach. That's what I got for today, guys. Have a good night, and I'll see y'all in the next one. Peace. Love y'all.